Jordan, I wanted to start the show off tonight with obviously a recruiting update. Everybody knows the whirlwind of Clemson recruiting that has been the 2026 recruiting class so far, with 12 commits currently sitting at the number two overall class, according to 247 Sports. And it was an amazing elite retreat weekend. But what is new in the world of recruiting? What kind of updates do you have for us about things that are still moving in the recruiting world for this 2026 class?
Yeah, there's a lot of still a lot of moving pieces and a lot of big fish out on the board for Clemson. Obviously, that big elite retreat recruiting weekend produced a ton of great results. But and I think you put yourself in really strong position for quite a few other guys. But they're still some of these guys are still going to continue to go through the process and render their decisions later. But I'm sure if you guys have been paying attention to the crystal balls, if you're one of those people that loves refreshing the 24/7 Sports page and seeing what crystal balls have come in, you've probably seen some for guys like wide receiver Gordon Sellers from Providence Day. Offensive lineman Zayden Krempin is a guy I've got my eye on. He took a visit to LSU over this past weekend. I think he's a guy that's going to go through the process, but I feel really good about where Clemson is with him, and they feel confident they can land him. They have continued to, do a really, really fine job at defensive back. We've talked about Polo Anderson, another in-state kid that I feel like you have to win at this point because you've done so well in that recruitment, and because you started off behind the eight ball with him. We were kind of slow to offer him. South Carolina was the perceived leader for a little bit, but they've continued to chip away and then got him on campus, and it was, I think things have definitely flipped in that area. He still plans to commit in May on his birthday, so I think you gotta ride the wave until that date. But I feel pretty confident about him being a Tiger. Or announcing his commitment to be a Tiger, because you never know these days. It's not over till signing day. JT asked about Tyler Atkinson from Grayson High. That's a guy that I think you're going to have to hold out on that one and just be patient. I think Clemson did a really, really good job. They did themselves a lot of favors during the elite retreat weekend. But he's the highest profile linebacker in the country. He's going to take his visits. He was in Oregon this past weekend. He's going to continue to take visits to Georgia. But he has confirmed he will be there for his official visit weekend on May 30th. So I think that's going to be where you take your big swing. I think and see if you can get him in the boat. But he's a guy that's going to go through the process for sure. But I think Clemson did themselves a lot of favors. Because I do think they were probably in that second tier of contenders, but now I think they've, based off of the returns and in his comments, I think Clemson has definitely maybe not launched themselves into the lead, but I think they are very much in the mix for that, for his commitment. Let's see. He says, are there any other major blue chip recruits we've got a shot at? Yeah. Well, the guys I mentioned, there's still plenty of more out on the board. Guys like Leo Delaney, also from Providence Day. I think Lonnie Galloway has done a really good job. He's a guy we've talked about a little bit, when Clemson hired him initially, and we haven't really discussed him since. But he has been a very, very big help for Clemson as far as, recruiting the Charlotte area, because he just has all those deep connections to the North Carolina in general, but the Charlotte area, especially, Providence Day, that's a school you've been trying to get back into. But Tennessee is a guy, Tennessee is a school you still got to watch for these kids in Charlotte. That's Clemson's biggest competition, I think. But yeah, you're still waiting on, I think you're in really good shape on the defensive line. Bryce Perry White is, he's always striked me as a Clemson kid. And I think, it's just a matter of time. I think Clemson just needs to continue to maintain that momentum with that recruitment. And I think he will be in the class. And so I think that, without getting into everybody, because I could do a whole show about Clemson recruiting. Clemson has done a phenomenal job, and I think they're in really, really strong position for a lot of big time recruits. And I think you'll start to see those dominoes fall within the next couple of months as we get closer to the official visit weekend, which I think you'll see that the biggest swing from the Tigers, and you'll have some commitments here, intermittent here and there. I think somebody who is announcing their commitment, I believe on Friday, is in-state offensive lineman Zion Giles. I think Clemson did a really good job with him on the elite retreat weekend, but I don't think they were able to flip the cards there. I do think he will commit to South Carolina on Friday. So, oh well, one loss on the table when you've already loaded up on a elite offensive line class, and you're still in it for quite a few other guys. So I didn't even mention Cannon Pickett out of the Miami area, who is still very much on the board as well and very much on the table. So I feel really good about Clemson's recruiting efforts. They've attacked this cycle in a way that they haven't in previous years, and they've just been more proactive as far as getting their biggest guys on the board. And also, and I just think they're in a better space NIL wise to be more appealing for recruits as well. So just a phenomenal job by the staff, and I think things are definitely trending in the right direction with this class. If I didn't think so before, I definitely do now.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It's been an amazing start to the 2026 recruiting cycle. But again, it is only March, and it's a long road to signing day in December. So got to keep the momentum going, got to hold on to these guys. Tiggs got a question for you, Jordan, before we move on recruiting. He says, any prospects from Clemson North, a.k.a. Daniel High?
I don't have any guys on my radar right now. But then again, I have not kept up. I didn't watch much of Daniel this year. I don't anticipate. There's not anybody that I'm looking at right now. But who knows? Maybe if there always seems to one Daniel kid seems to find his way in a class more years than not. So who knows?
Yeah, absolutely. Whether it be a scholarship or a preferred walk-on spot, you can always count on at least one Daniel High appearance on the roster.